Hallie, and any minute now we are expecting to hear from the lead prosecutor in South Carolina's so-called trial of the century after today's bombshell move by the state's Supreme Court to overturn Alex Murdaugh's double murder conviction. Why? The court called it shocking jury interference. In a second, we're going to have a live look of where attorneys are set to speak. This is a big deal, right? This is a huge deal because you remember Murdaugh, he's now set to go on trial again for the murder of his wife and son, who were found dead on the family's massive estate. This is a case that was front page news across the country. I know you remember it. We covered it here on the show. We covered the verdict live on the show. You might remember some of these moments, too.
I could see his brain laying on the sidewalk. I didn't know what to do.
Did you get on your shirt high velocity blood spatter from being within a distance of a shooting Maggie or Paul?
There's no way that I had high velocity blood spatter on me.
Pretty much all of that was lies, wasn't it?
The part about me not being at the kennel was a lie. I admit candidly in all of these cases, Mr. Waters, that I took money that was not mine and I shouldn't have done it.
Okay, so Murdaugh has long said he didn't kill his wife and son. Obviously, he was convicted of that. But now South Carolina Supreme Court says Murdaugh didn't get a fair trial because of one woman. This woman, the court clerk, Becky Hill. She was there day after day. She's the one who actually read out the guilty verdict 2 years ago.
Verdict guilty, signed by the forelady, date 3/2/23.
Okay, so that's Hill, but the South Carolina Supreme Court says the allegations against her are shocking. They say she did things like tell jurors not to be fooled by the evidence Murdaugh's attorneys presented, told them to watch Murdaugh's body language when he testified, that she told jurors the defense would try to do things to confuse them or throw them off. So that verdict now overturned. It's not like Murdaugh's getting out of prison, however. That's because he separately pleaded guilty to charges related to stealing tons of money from his law firm and former clients. Misty Maris has our legal analysis. Laura Jarrett is following the latest updates. I'm just going to check with our control room team. I think that live news conference is set to begin any minute. We had a shot up from it. I think that's gone down. We're waiting to see that any second when these folks come out, including the person who is the lead prosecutor in the case. The state had said Murdaugh was obviously guilty. They are going to retry him. We know that from some of the comments earlier today. But walk us through some of the other reaction to what is this very significant move on one of the most high-profile murder cases in the country in recent years.
Hallie, you just cannot overstate enough how unusual this is. Every day across the country, defendants try to make a motion like this for a new trial. They try to say something was said in passing. They try to say the jurors were talking when they shouldn't have been. They were reading, things on social media. It never works, except for today. And I think part of what's so unusual about what happened and why you never see this and why it's so stunning is because what Becky Hill is accused of is so stunning. In the words of this high court, they call it breathtaking, Hallie. They call it disgraceful. They say it's unprecedented in the state of South Carolina. It's so bad that it means undoing all of that work, all of the jurors' work. And judges are loath to undo a jury's verdict, okay? They never want to do this. But what she did, at least in the eyes of the high court, is so bad that they feel they have no choice but to undo it, Hallie. We talked to some of the jurors about this case, the jurors who were on this originally, who sat through the trial, who watched him on the stand. Listen to what one of them had to say about this.
So then I go to Google and I look and, it pops up obviously because it's now news. And I see where it says that the Supreme Court overturned. And I was like, what? Why? The evidence was overwhelming. He was guilty.
Now, remember, the jury's verdict was also unanimous. It's a criminal case. It has to be unanimous. They found him guilty. But one juror in particular had raised this issue of pressure by Becky Hill, the clerk at the time. She's the one who submitted an affidavit which kicked off this whole thing. We're waiting to hear from her and hear what she has to say about all this, Hallie. But it's just stunning, stunning news. And clearly some of the jurors are dismayed about this overturning of the verdict.
What's so interesting here, too, is that almost from the jump, after this guilty verdict came down, Alex Murdaugh's attorneys kind of pointed the finger at Hill, right? She pleaded guilty last year to showing sealed exhibits.
Yeah.
We haven't heard anything from her today, right? I mean, this is the whole thing, basically, Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, the whole thing basically centers around her. That's what this overturning is all about.
It all hinges on her. And when this first came up, they held sort of a mini trial, Hallie. They heard testimony from the jurors. They heard testimony from Hill. And she said, look, I did not pressure the jury. I did not pressure them in any way. She said that on the stand. She's never been prosecuted for anything that happened as it related to this alleged jury pressure. She has, however, come under quite a bit of fire for, as you mentioned, the perjury issue related to giving sealed exhibits to a member of the media. That's a separate issue, but it does sort of speak to, I think, the stakes and sort of the scrutiny that she's been under. Remember, she also had a book about her experience overseeing this jury, right, Hallie? That gets pulled because of plagiarism allegations. And so there's been tons swirling about this really for a long time, almost since he was convicted. The defense team has been raising issues about Becky Hill, but it just shows you how long it takes sometimes for this to work its way all the way up, right, to the highest court to now have it undone today.
Can I ask you to hang with us for a second? We're showing on the left side of the screen that microphone. We expect to see the South Carolina Attorney General, the former lead prosecutor on the Murdaugh case, Creighton Waters. Just to pull back the curtain, one of our affiliate reporters is doing like live shots. We're navigating the camera. We're going to watch the whole thing when this begins. But I want to go to Misty Maris for a second here because Misty, Laura said you really can't overstate how shocking this is. Walk us through it from the legal perspective here, because you have to think that when we hear from the lead prosecutor, he's going to be furious with this. This is not what prosecutors want to see.
Definitely not. And again, it's so rare because appellate courts do not want to overturn jury verdicts. They have a whole lot of deference and respect for them. But here what the court looked at was whether or not Becky Hill actually engaged in misconduct. And if she did it matter? And that was the decision the court had to make. If she engaged in misconduct, did that actually impact the jury's ultimate determination? And I think what you're going to hear from prosecutors is that the reason that this case was overturned had nothing to do with the way that they handled the case. It had nothing to do with the weight of the evidence and how powerful their case was. It was because of impropriety of someone not involved with the legal team, of a third party outside of all of this. And so I think you're going to hear a really, really stark statement that they're going to move forward with a second prosecution.
So, let's talk about what that would look like, because what does another trial look like here on a case that, like, I just can't imagine that you're in South Carolina and you hadn't heard of the Alex Murdaugh, murder trial. That's not the bar for having somebody sit on the jury. But is it going to be difficult to try to seat a jury that doesn't already have a predisposed notion of this when that guilty verdict was so, it was everywhere. Everybody knew about it.
Everybody knew about it. And Hallie, think about what's out there. It was a televised trial. Murdaugh actually testified.
I'm going to stop you here because the South Carolina Attorney General taking the microphone. We're going to listen in.
Okay, we ready? All right. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here this late in the day. We're sorry we couldn't do this earlier. Obviously, it's been a very busy day. For those of you who don't know, I'm Alan Wilson. I'm the Attorney General for South Carolina. I have standing with me Creighton Waters, who's the Chief Prosecutor in the state grand jury and the Chief Prosecutor on the Alex Murdaugh trial team. Go ahead just to kind of sum and tee up everything. Today, the South Carolina Supreme Court ruled in a 5-0 decision to reverse the murder convictions of Alex Murdaugh. Ruled in a 5-0 decision to reverse the murder convictions for Alex Murdaugh for the June 2021 murder of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. The court based its decision on the conduct of then Colleton County Clerk of Court Rebecca Hill. As you know, this conduct involved her interactions with the jury at that time. As the court said in the order, this was conduct unknown to the state and other individuals. My office's position has always been that the conduct, while inappropriate and should never be condoned, was ultimately harmless as it related to prejudicing Alex Murdaugh's right to a fair trial. The Supreme Court obviously disagreed in its conclusion. While we strongly disagree with the Supreme Court, we respect its decision because that's how the process is supposed to be played out. So now we must look to the future. What does this decision mean going forward for this office? First, Alex Murdaugh is currently serving a 27-year sentence for the financial crimes that he has admitted to in a guilty plea that we secured against him, and he has also waived his appeals for those financial charges. Additionally, he pled guilty to federal charges about 5 months after he pled to the state financial charges. He received a concurrent 40-year sentence. So Alex Murdaugh for several. Our office is reviewing the legal team and our staff. We're evaluating what our strategy will be. As of right now, the state has 15 days to ask the state Supreme Court to reconsider its decision. We have 90 days to appeal to the. However, it's currently my intention to seek a speedy retrial. I always say this current decision recognize defendants the presumption of innocence unless and until they are proven guilty in a court of law, and Mr. Murdaugh will enjoy that presumption at this time. Are there any questions?
Mr. Attorney General, your opponents in the governor's race are jumping on this, saying your office bungled the case. I know the court's decision pointed the finger at Becky Hill, but are you worried that this is going to affect your campaign for governor and will look poorly upon your records?
No, not at all. Obviously, the court has been very clear. People who have never actually been a prosecutor, been in law enforcement, step foot in the court of law, the hand of a victim as they got a job, have ever gone through this process, make all the political
Just want to
haymakers
note
they want
here
out
that
of
if
this,
you're
but at the end
having
of the
trouble
day,
hearing his microphone there from Alan Wilson, that's not you. That's an issue from the room. The team there is working on getting that fixed. But significantly here, you've heard the South Carolina AG say they will seek a speedy retrial of Alex Murdaugh. You see the lead prosecutor on the Murdaugh case there as well. This is a significant moment here because it does mean that they are barreling toward putting Alex Murdaugh back on the stand. Again, he's not going to walk free before then. He's serving time separately for all of these financial crimes he's pleaded guilty to. But an interesting moment here in South Carolina. Let's see if they've worked out that audio. Oops, I'm being told it is still not great. We're going to work on that. And while we do it, let me bring back in Misty Maris here. Now that we know, listen, this retrial is going to move forward, Misty, I want you to pick up on that thread of what that looks like, how they seat a jury, how long that will take, and what a timeline is.
Yeah, so they said they're going to seek a speedy trial. So that could mean we'd be on a fast track. Now, to seat a jury, Hallie, this is going to be tough because think about how much attention has been on this case. Not only did we have a trial that was televised, we had Murdaugh testify at that trial, countless documentaries, series about this particular case. You're not going to find people who don't know about the case. That would be virtually impossible in South Carolina and across the country. So the question is, can you seat jurors who are going to go in without a preconceived notion, look at the evidence and make a determination? And it will be done in the same way we see in other high-profile cases. You're going to see jury questionnaires that are extensive, and you're going to see a significant questioning during voir dire.
We're told the audio is better now. The team's got that fixed. Let's listen back in.
Charges with conduct unrelated to this case. I'm not going to speculate on anything else at this time. Yes, sir.
Did this ruling come as a surprise, and what can you tell to the people of South Carolina who might be worried about the cost of a second trial?
Well, first off, our office has always maintained, and we've never disputed, that the conduct Ms. Hill engaged in was inappropriate. We have always maintained that the conduct was harmless error. Obviously, for those of you who watched the post-trial hearings, for those of you who saw everything unfold in real time, there were many, many, many witnesses who testified that this, I think 11 of the jurors testified in open court during that post-trial hearing that they did not believe that this affected their decision. We believe that it was harmless error, and so obviously when the court came to a different conclusion, it was obviously disappointing to me personally, and it was disappointing to Creighton. It was disappointing to other members of our team.
And as far as the cost of a second trial, for those who might be concerned about the legal costs incurred going forward with this, considering he is behind bars for several decades.
Here's the thing. When people are murdered, okay, when victims are murdered, they have a right to have their case adjudicated in court even though they're not currently here. Their family members who they left behind have a right. For those who want to see justice meted out, they have a right to that. So we're not going to let that be a factor in our decision to move forward. Seeking justice is the role of this office. Enforcing and defending the rule of law is the job of this office. It is the job of the men and women of this office, and that is what we have always held to.
Do you plan to prosecute the case any differently this time?
As I said a moment ago, Mr. Waters and I have been in consultation all day. He's been talking with members of our team here in the State Grand Jury Prosecution Division. We don't want to comment publicly on what our legal strategy would be moving forward. Obviously, there will be very little surprises to the general public as this case gets retried again. But obviously, we have a roadmap the Supreme Court has given us based on what they have put forward in their order. But again, I don't want to talk too much openly about what our legal strategy would be because we haven't gotten there yet.
Was there ever any consideration of possibly taking this case up to the Supreme Court? You said you had a window to possibly get that done.
We're still in that window for 3 more months. So obviously it is something that we are contemplating all of our legal options, and we're exploring everything. This just happened today. So making a firm decision one way or the other on what we want to do on our right to appeal are things that we're going to be talking about in the hours and days to come, and we will be making those decisions. Regardless of that, it is my current intention to seek a speedy retrial of this case.
With the documentaries and the different podcasts that are already out, do you think that will taint anything in the case or the retrial?
I mean, look, you always are concerned about the exposure a high-profile case gets, and that is always something you're concerned about. But obviously the process is designed and built to kind of cull that out, and obviously I trust the process and the system to help us get back to a court of law where we can get this information back to a jury.
One more question. How quickly do you expect you could be back to trial with this?
My intention, and we've talked about this, it's aspirational, but we would like to try to get back before the end of the calendar year.
You might not be Attorney General by that point.
Irrelevant. It doesn't matter who the Attorney General is. The Office of the Attorney General will still be here. Would I like to be involved in this case like I was the first time? Absolutely. But like I said, the men and women, many of the men and women who were on that original trial team are still in this office. Some have obviously moved on to other opportunities, but most are still here. This office is still going to be here long after Alan Wilson leaves it. So the decision on whether or not to pursue this case is not going to be built on who the next occupant of my office is. It's going to be built on should we seek justice or not, and we're going to seek justice. I'll take another question or two, then we have to run.
I guess, Attorney General, there's been calls for reform of the system. You yourself have called for judicial reform. Given that the finger's been pointed at the clerk, are there any reforms you think should happen for clerks within the judicial system?
Look, the system worked when it came to the former clerk of Colleton County. Obviously, after the fact, unknown to us, as the court said in its order, her conduct was obviously made known. That was handled by the system. Other conduct that she engaged in, which was discovered long after the trial concluded, that ultimately led to her conviction for misconduct in office, was handled by another solicitor's office that I signed in that case, and that was handled appropriately, and she was convicted in a court of law. So the system addressed that individual.
And I know you're not going to speak about the strategy, but do you think the evidence that they pointed out that you spent too much time on the financial woes of Murdaugh, do you think that's going to have an impact on your trial going forward?
I mean, look, we have the benefit of hindsight now. We believed, and the court did say in its order that the evidence that we got in was permissible. They obviously provided us some guardrails to go back on remand to the original trial court where it will be tried, and they gave some guidelines and some guidance that we will obviously evaluate and use as a guide in presenting the next case. I'm happy, and Creighton, if you want to take a moment, I'm happy to let you address that issue as well.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We, of course, were, aggressive about that evidence, but as you recall, we filed multiple pretrial briefs. We laid out our theory of the case. We put all that evidence on the table, and ultimately Judge Newman heard it all and agreed that it was permissible. But this is part of the process. The Supreme Court multiple times in the order said that this was viable evidence of motive, but ultimately gave us some guidance about the extent. That's how it works. You don't hit a home run if you're afraid to strike out. And so as a prosecutor, you have to deal with double jeopardy. We had a viable reason for putting in this evidence, and so we did so. Ultimately, the court, as the AG said, ruled on Becky Hill, and then they said, while we're at it, hey, this is permissible evidence, but let's put some guardrails in place. That's just part of the process. They also, though, multiple times in the order talked about I think they called it superbly competent and professional presentation by both the state and the defense. So these things are not 2 + 2 = 4, and we did our job. We still believe that the case should have been affirmed. But we recognize the court's reversal, and now we're going to go do it again. That's the plan.
Mr. Waters, thinking back to January, in which arguments were brought before the state Supreme Court, was it a difficult or untenuous position to have to, in some ways, talk about Becky Hill and basically, in some ways, make sure that, to say it no other way, to kind of defend her in that hearing?
Well, again, whenever you try a case and you, as a prosecutor, like I mentioned, with double jeopardy, you have to, within your interpretation of the rules, be aggressive. And so we were expecting that. The one thing you don't expect is to ultimately have to address these issues with the clerk. As we presented to the court, and as the AG just said, we thought that Justice Toll got it right, that ultimately there was no effect on this verdict after 6 weeks of trial and all the evidence that was presented. Supreme Court saw it differently, and that's their prerogative to do so. So certainly that was not an issue that we were hoping for and expecting, and unfortunately that was the one where the Supreme Court hung its hat. But again, that's part of the process. You dust yourself off, you get back up, you take a fresh look at it, and then you go do your job. And that's what we plan to do.
I want to close.
You have been listening to top prosecutors in South Carolina talk about their next moves there after Alex Murdaugh's double murder conviction has been tossed by the state Supreme Court there. I want to bring in Laura Jarrett and Misty Maris. So, Laura, let me start with you here. It's interesting. They noted that they didn't love what Becky Hill, the court clerk, did either, right? They didn't think that her conduct was super great, to put it colloquially, but they thought that it was essentially harmless, right? Explain why the state Supreme Court disagreed, and not just disagreed, but disagreed to the point where they overturned this jury conviction.
Yeah, they want to hold Becky Hill's conduct at arm's length because they know that it's bad, and they just now have a Supreme Court decision calling it disgraceful. So they have to keep that at arm's length. But oftentimes you see this where essentially the court says, we know something bad happened, but it's, quote, harmless error. In other words, there was so much other evidence suggesting that he was guilty that even if she did do this, even if she said, hey, take a close look at him on the stand, they heard enough other evidence that would have been persuasive. And we heard this from the jurors today. There was enough overwhelming evidence of his guilt that she didn't need to engage in a pressure campaign because they were going to find him guilty anyway. The court today, the high court today, saying no dice on that what she did was so grave, it essentially infected the whole process, Hallie, and that you can't really disentangle her pressure campaign from what other evidence they were hearing. And even if she only told some jurors, they were then in deliberations with all the other jurors. And so the court just unwilling. And by the way, this is a unanimous decision. It's not as if they were all split on this. They essentially saying they just couldn't disentangle what she had done. It had so badly tainted the process that it's essentially irretrievable. So that's why they have to do it all over again.
You also heard Misty, the Attorney General for the state there, say that they are planning to pursue what he called a speedy retrial by the end of the calendar year, which is probably 3 minutes in legal timelines here, but that they would also look at their other legal options. Does that mean, is there any possibility that they could appeal this up to the Supreme Court here in Washington, or because it's a state case? How does that work?
Yeah, so Hallie, they have two options when it comes to an appeal. One is asking for the court to review its own decision and say, hey, court, we think you got this wrong. This is the South Carolina Supreme Court. Look at this again and make their arguments there. Unlikely to succeed. I think something Laura brought up about the arguments that were presented before the Supreme Court previously. We have a unanimous decision. They're unlikely to find themselves in the wrong. But because this is a final determination by the highest level state court involving what could be a federal question, your right to a fair trial, it could potentially go to the Supreme Court for review.
If it doesn't, if it moves forward with a retrial, Laura, you heard the AG say that there would be maybe very few surprises, I think he put it, over the course of a trial to an audience that might be watching here, or to the jurors there. There are some things that they might have to tweak, and you heard Creighton Waters talk about that right at the end, right? Like how heavy they went in on the financial crimes piece.
Well, because you see some language in this decision, even though it wasn't sort of the bulk of the decision, which was about Becky Hill here, they have some language suggesting you went too far on the financial crimes thing. Remember, that was not what he was charged with here. He's already pled guilty to that. It's a separate issue. But prosecutors wanted to bring it in this trial to prove motive, to say, look, they were about to blow the lid off of all his financial problems, and And essentially, prosecutors said that's why he killed his wife and son. Now, he disputed that, and that was obviously not, the defense's contention. But the court took care to say here they just harped on too much of it. And some of it could come in, but they just said if they do this again, they need to be far more narrowly tailored in how much they let in. And so that is going to affect their strategy here. And I asked the AG before he went up for that presser today, like, how are you going to have to change things? And would you be open to a plea for him? Because remember, he has pled guilty to those financial crimes. And I said, would you be open to a plea? He would not rule that out, Hallie.
Would it behoove Alex Murdaugh, Misty, to try to take a plea here?
I don't know if it would be a bad idea. I mean, listen, he's maintained his innocence for the entirety of the trial. Yeah. Remember, he took the stand and proclaimed his innocence and has maintained that position throughout. So if it's principle, then, of course, no plea. But if it really relates to the practicality, he's already serving multiple sentences behind bars. So going through another trial would certainly be a battle for him.
Misty Maris, Laura Jarrett, thank you both so much for being with us, walking us through all of it as we've been watching this live rolling coverage here. Appreciate you both very much. Don't miss tomorrow morning. Today's going to have an exclusive interview with Alex Murdaugh's legal team. Significant there. That's tomorrow morning on the Today Show. Do not miss that one. Also tonight, a lot of news coming into us. We've got to take you overseas where President Trump has arrived now for that big meeting, those big talks with China's president. Whole shebang happens later on tonight, overnight. But already we've seen an interesting twist, a late add to the trip. The head of NVIDIA, who rendezvoused with the president in Alaska after POTUS called him up for the trip, according to a source familiar. President says he wants to talk trade with Xi Jinping, but expect to hear about Iran, too, and the president's talks to try to end that war. Talks that, per the president just 24 hours ago, are going to be hashed out without him thinking about Americans' financial situations. His focus instead, he says, is on just one thing.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. 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 Very simple.
I want to bring in Gabe Gutierrez, who is live for us in Beijing. Good morning to you, my friend. All of the action is happening overnight our time, daytime your time, and this is really a big day for President Trump. So set the table for what we should expect so when we wake up tomorrow morning, we know how to read in.
Well, Hallie, you mentioned that the president arriving here in Beijing overnight got that red carpet welcome, the type of pomp and pageantry that he relishes just so much. And we're expecting a huge day of that on the grandest of global stages, Hallie. You know, the president expected to go to the Great Hall of the People here in China a little later on this morning for an official welcome ceremony from President Xi. They'll then have a bilateral meeting before later on today. He will meet with President Xi and also tour the Temple of Heaven, a historic site here in Beijing, before a state banquet a little later on tonight. So a lot going on overnight your time. We'll be here watching it all. But as you said, a lot looming over these talks. There's Iran, there's trade, tariffs, AI, to the thorny issue of Taiwan. All these topics are expected to come up here. It just big question is just how much President Trump will push President Xi behind the scenes to get involved in Iran. He says he's downplaying how much he will do it, but we'll just have to wait and see how.
But the NVIDIA thing is also interesting, too, Gabe, because it doesn't give you a signal or perhaps a sense that the president's bargaining chip with the Chinese may be like a literal computer chip here?
Well, look, that is incredibly interesting. You're right, because that was that last-minute ad. The NVIDIA CEO, of course, making these advanced computer chips. There have been restrictions on these types of chips to be exported from the U.S. into China. It could be, and look, Trump administration officials have been saying that one of their main goals here in China is to talk about perhaps some investment deals, to talk about a potential board of investment or board of trade with the Chinese. And that's how they pivot back to what they're trying to do to help everyday Americans with affordability. If they can bring some of these investment deals to the United States, that could be something, that the administration could walk out of here touting some sort of win, projecting this image of stability, which the president likely needs, given that there's so much going on really around the world, so much instability in the Middle East.
Let me go back to what the president said, Gabe, about the Americans' financial situations and Iran, right? We talked about it right at the top here, because back here in Washington, our friend and colleague Monica Alba asked the vice president about that. Let me play that.
When approaching the war with Iran, do you agree with the president's position that Americans' financial situations should not be a consideration in that decision-making process?
Well, I don't think the president said that. I think that's a misrepresentation of what the president said. But look, I agree with the president that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. We're obviously engaged in a very aggressive and very engaged diplomatic process to try to ensure that that doesn't happen. And the president has a lot of options, as he said repeatedly.
Really quick, just to make the point on no misrepresentation, let me remind people exactly what the president did say, because it was not misrepresented. Let me play that.
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about American financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all.
Now, the president in China may be thinking about Americans' financial situations, but what can he do? In other words, what can he bring home from these talks with Xi, given the pressure he faces politically to try to help people out from a budgetary perspective?
Well, certainly, Hallie, there's a lot of pressure there. And the vice president continuing that answer, continuing to play some cleanup here to try to, have it both ways in a sense, taking issue with the question, but also saying that, of course, the administration is concerned about Americans' financial situation, and then pivoting back to that's why it passed what they view as those historic tax cuts. And basically looking at this situation, they're clearly worried about it heading into the midterm election campaign, and certainly something that Republicans will be needing to answer for. Now, when it comes to these CEOs that are coming here, yes, this is something the administration wants to be a headline from this trip, some sort of investment deal that they can then pivot to then talk about how they're working to make things more affordable.
Gabe Gutierrez live for us there in Beijing. Gabe, you're going to have a busy day, a busy night. Appreciate you being with us. Thank you, pal. Back here at home, an interesting new threading of the needle, if you will, from the CDC late today, saying they're encouraging the Americans who are on board that so-called hantavirus cruise to stay quarantined at a Nebraska medical center for 6 full weeks before going home. They are encouraging that, but they are not mandating that. With a lot of questions over when those passengers can go home, what they should do once they are home, et cetera, et cetera. We know it can take up to 42 days for symptoms of hantavirus to show up, which is why the medical director of Nebraska's quarantine unit says these passengers are being monitored constantly.
I can't give you an absolute number, and I think that's what everyone would like to know, especially the guests that we have in the unit. CDC assessments are going to dictate how we proceed from here, and it may be different for different individuals.
We're also hearing from the American passenger who got infected on that cruise and who's now in a biocontainment unit there in Omaha. He's a doctor who was on board. He ended up helping the doctors on the ship when this whole thing broke out. Here's what he told CNN.
I feel great. I feel wonderful, 100%. That's a little weird being in here by myself, but the nurses come in, the doctors come in. I'm on WhatsApp all the time. It's really amazing how quickly time flies. Many weeks of this, well, we'll see how that goes.
Camila Bernal is on the ground there in Omaha. We will see how that goes. I think everyone will see how that goes because officials at the CDC today say they're taking a conservative approach when it comes to monitoring people who may have been exposed to the virus there. What does that actually mean? What does a conservative approach mean?
So it means they're really asking everyone to follow instructions, essentially, because the CDC is saying we are encouraging them. It's not a mandate. They don't have to do this. But everyone seems to be cooperating in the sense that everyone, at least for now, seems to have agreed to have stayed for those 42 days. It started actually on May 11th, which is the day they got off that plane from that cruise ship, according to the CDC. And then, like you mentioned, there are daily and constant checks. It's temperature checks, symptom checks, even mental health checks to make sure that the quarantine period is not too difficult for all the people who are here. I spoke to a nurse here who is in charge and taking care of some of the passengers here, and this is what she told me.
It's been very busy. We're trying to make sure that we can meet all of their physical, psychosocial, emotional, behavioral health needs. Having 15 individuals is, a large number, and everyone has an individual story, individual needs.
And that doctor who tested mildly positive was retested again, and the CDC today saying they expect those fresh results within a day or two, Hallie.
How about in France? Health officials there, Camilla, say a woman with hantavirus has taken a turn. She's now on a lung machine. What else do you know about that?
Yeah, it's just a very unfortunate situation. She is in critical condition with an artificial lung. Obviously, medical professionals doing everything they can to assist her and to essentially keep her alive. But it is obviously not really great news for that family. We also know, in terms of positive news, that Italy had tested a couple of people, and they have essentially been negative for the Andes strain of the virus. We also heard from the UK that 6 passengers that were on the boat and had been tested negative, and so they are being released to essentially quarantine or self-monitor in their own homes. So a similar approach to what we've seen here in the United States, also now happening overseas. Hallie.
Camila Bernal live for us there in Omaha. We're glad to have you there, Camila. Thank you very much for the updates. Much more to get to here on the show, including coming up the race to rescue people trapped in torrential flash flooding sweeping through one country. Plus, the pretty bananas moment. 2 people smashed a car into a cannabis shop before they tried to burn the whole thing down. We've got the video next. So in just the last hour, the Utah mom who published a book on grief after her husband's death has been sentenced to life in prison with no parole for his murder. She just spoke to the court, sending a message to her 3 sons. Watch.
I know how much you need him, how much you love him. How much you aspire to be just like him. And I would have never taken that from you.
We're going to show you the moment here. Corey Richins received her sentence today. It happened to be the day of her late husband's, Eric's, birthday. She was convicted of aggravated murder earlier this year for lacing his cocktail with 5 times the deadly dose of fentanyl in 2022. Now, her lawyers do say they're going to appeal the ruling. Morgan Chesky is covering this one for us. And another high-profile case here, a very emotional day in court today, right?
Yeah, Hallie, absolutely. This took the better part of today. We heard from powerful victim statements from both sides of Corey Richins' family. And she sat there and listened to everything, not hiding her feelings at times, rolling her eyes to some accounts, breaking down in tears for others. But this was the moment, essentially, where everyone was waiting to see what the judge would decide. They had 2 options here: life in prison without parole or life with the possibility of that. And the judge saying that while considering both of these options in detail, one of the key focal points were the 3 sons of Richins that are still alive, saying that it was out of genuine concern for them that he made sure that because of the severity, the heinous nature of this crime, her poisoning her husband, that he believed that she should be incarcerated for the remainder of her life. And one of the most powerful moments today came when therapists for her children read their victim statements. Take a listen.
You have never said sorry for anything that you have done to me and my brothers. I don't want you to hurt anyone again.
I miss my dad, but I do not miss how my life used to be. I don't miss Corey, I will tell you that. I want her to go to prison forever. If she got out, I would be so scared.
Now, again, Eric Richins died back in March of 2022, and she was convicted of his murder, of murdering him just this past March. Hallie, we had a chance to see some body cam during that trial, and you could see officers asking her what was wrong. She said she didn't know, but when she rolled over in bed, her husband's body felt cold. Of course, she was arrested a year later because of evidence that had accumulated by investigators. And you can hear from Corey in her own words here, speaking to her sons, at one point saying to be like their father. Take a listen.
Be like your dad. Be generous. Be charitable. Help when others are in need. Serve your community. Be like your dad.
Again, a very emotional day in court here, Hallie. I should note that her attorney said that she has mailed letters to her sons from prison, but they've all come back unopened. Hallie.
Wow. It's as you say, incredibly emotional. And I have to ask on the legal piece of it, we had mentioned her team does plan to appeal, right? Do you have any sense of a timeline on that?
They do. Let's hear directly, in fact, from one of her own family members, Corey's brother, sharing a statement following this news from the judge, saying that Corey's innocent. We stand with her fully. We are glad to get Corey out of this unjust, corrupt, and harmful Summit County court system. We are excited to get the appeal process going in a fair and impartial manner. Hallie, no date set for that. But until then, again, the official word today, life without the possibility of parole. Hallie.
Morgan Chesky live for us with all of those developments. Morgan, thank you. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, the man accused of providing the ketamine that killed Matthew Perry has been sentenced to 2 years behind bars. Eric Fleming was previously a licensed addiction counselor. He pleaded guilty in connection with Perry's 2023 death. Now the 4th person to be sentenced in this case. Last month, the convicted drug dealer who prosecutors called the ketamine queen was sentenced to 15 years behind bars. Number 2, at least 12 people have been hurt after really bad flooding in northern Turkey. A ton of rain meant pipes ended up overflowing. The water was moving so quickly it picked up and moved cars at some points. We're told that all the victims, fortunately, are expected to be okay. Number 3, take a look. Video out of Michigan. Surveillance cameras showing this car ramming into a cannabis store. 2 people hop out. One of them starts just like grabbing stuff. The other pours out a bunch of gas, it looks like, what is presumably gas from that can. Instead, he accidentally sets himself on fire. Both suspects then run off. Now, the store, they're posting like videos online parodying the whole thing. Police are still looking for whoever did it. Number 4, Hollywood legend Mel Brooks is donating his archives to the National Comedy Center, like 150,000 papers and pictures that span his whole very long career. Things like the OG lyrics to his song Springtime for Hitler from the producers. Brooks turns 100 years old next month. He says he's honored that his contributions to comedy will be preserved. You'll be able to see him at the museum in Jamestown, New York. Number 5, the NFL releasing what it calls its most ambitious global schedule ever. 9 international games for this season. Told you about the Niners and the Rams in Melbourne. Games are also set for Rio, Paris, Madrid, Munich, Mexico City, and London. Did I see an Eagles logo on there? I think we did. October 11th, Philly versus the Jags, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, 9:30 a.m. kickoff. So if I'm late to work that day, you'll know why. Also tonight, we are learning more about a chaotic scene at the Senate in the Philippines. Gunfire, with officials trying to arrest a politician wanted by the International Criminal Court. Take a look at this. Really scary moment. You can hear the shots fired. It's not immediately clear who was pulling the trigger. The Philippine president said nobody was hurt, no government officials were involved. He's now calling for calm. I want to get to Raf Sanchez now. How did this happen? It's not like this is a building that doesn't have security.
So, Hallie, this is basically the culmination of a pretty bizarre 3-day standoff that took place inside the Philippine Senate. You mentioned on Monday, the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for a Philippine senator. His name is Ronald De La Rosa. He is accused of crimes against humanity committed back when he was a police officer. He denies those allegations. But on Monday, Philippine law enforcement came and they tried to take him into custody. And Hallie, he literally made a run for it. You can see in CCTV, he and his aides just take off inside the Senate building. They run up a bunch of stairs, and he locked himself inside his office. He spent 2 days locked inside. That brings us to today. Here's where things get a little bit confusing. You can see from footage shot inside of the Senate, it certainly looks like very large numbers of armed Philippine law enforcement and troops go inside the building in an apparent attempt to take him into custody. You can see troops in the hallway there. There's then this burst of shooting. We still don't know who actually opened fire. As you said, authorities are saying nobody was actually hurt. But when the president of the Philippines went on TV later on to address his nation, he said this was nothing to do with the government. We didn't send any of our guys in there. We're not trying to arrest De La Rosa. So it is a pretty confusing situation. Our understanding right now is he is with this wanted senator is with Philippine security forces, but he is not in custody. He has appealed to the country's Supreme Court to block any extradition. And you might remember, Hallie, the former president of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, who was something of a pal of President Trump during his first term. He is currently at The Hague at the International Criminal Court, also awaiting trial. Hallie.
Raf Sanchez, what a story. Thank you very much for keeping us posted on that one. NBC News covers hundreds of other stories every day, and because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Western Bureau, at least 13 people have been hurt after this pretty intense crash in California. A truck crashing into a city bus and 2 cars. Police say the truck, which was filled with gravel, couldn't stop at a traffic light before the crash. 8 people on board the bus have been hospitalized. Out of our Northeast Bureau, a huge fire gutting this 100-plus-year-old house in the Philly suburbs. Started in the attic and then spread. The homeowners woke up in time after hearing crackling noises and called 911. Some 100 firefighters were out there trying to get the flames under control. Nobody was hurt. And out of our Southern Bureau, Florida Fire Rescue Team says a trapped kitten was able to be saved thanks to some quick thinking. Somebody heard cries coming from a storm drain and called for help. Crews tried to get the kitten out. It moved deeper into the pipe. They had to pause the search till the next day. The little kitten didn't really want the food that they tried to use to lure it out, so they used a very gentle stream of water to try to get the little critter out. He's now safe and living with the person who first found him. All is well that ends well. Coming up, the new lifeline may be on the way for the British Prime Minister, why the head of one of the world's biggest banks is throwing his support behind the embattled Keir Starmer. Next. So tonight, political drama looming large over the King's big speech in London. King Charles here, you see him laying out the British government's priorities for the upcoming session of Parliament. Here he is arriving, natch in a horse-drawn carriage, as one does when you're the king, wearing a very king-like crown as well, addressing the opening of Parliament there, along with the Queen. Big order of business, though, while he was center stage, is still the future of Prime Minister Keir Starmer, with some 80 of his fellow Labour Party lawmakers calling for him to step down. That's after last week's elections delivered big wins for the hard-right Reform UK party. But here's the thing. America's biggest bank may have just handed Starmer a political lifeline. JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon tells Bloomberg he might pull the plug on a multi-billion-dollar office tower in London if Starmer gets ousted. Matt Bodner joins us now. Is that threat enough to potentially save Keir Starmer's political future?
Well, it's definitely an interesting one, Hallie. Basically, I think it falls right into some of the counter arguments we've seen in the past few days in support of Keir Starmer, essentially saying that if there is a major leadership crisis right now, given the state of the country's economy, its sort of security situation, that it could also spark a financial crisis. So it is interesting to see sort of a big foreign business weigh in on this. I think it's also worth pointing out that it could also just be aimed at tipping the debate within the Labour Party about who might follow Starmer. Starmer is sort of from the moderate wing. He's basically tends to be pro-European in terms of economic and security cooperation. There are more left-leaning members of the Labour Party who could end up making a play for the leadership. So it could also be designed at sort of swaying that debate. His words were basically, if a leadership crisis results in a government that is sort of harder on the banks, it could force them to reconsider their investments.
How about the timing of the King's speech today? I mean, it's interesting, right? Give us a sense of how the interplay between the royals and the politicos there.
So I think, as you guys might have seen, as you're seeing now, this is a very ceremonial, symbolic event. So ceremonial, actually, it includes the King's bodyguards trawling through the tunnels below Parliament looking for explosives. But also, I want to point out, the content of the speech is essentially dictated by the government, by the Prime Minister's office. It outlines the government's agenda for the next year. And the Prime Minister's office sets the date. That date was set a while ago. Everyone knew going into this that it was basically picked to follow last week's local elections. Everyone knew that those elections were going to be a bloodbath for Labour. So the original intent by Number 10 was likely to use this speech to try to reset the conversation for the Labour government after that election. But in practice today, it sort of gave Starmer some much-needed cover. That's essentially what we saw happen today. We saw one of his sort of presumed rivals go for a meeting at Downing Street earlier today. Before the speech, that lasted 15 minutes. He walked out, and really nothing further happened today. So it did provide cover. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, no kidding. Matt Bodner, thank you very much. Coming up here on the show, why multiple countries are now boycotting the biggest singing competition in the world. That's next. Tonight, the biggest singing competition in the world is ramping up to a controversial finale with anti-Israel protests happening outside the Eurovision venue in Vienna, right ahead of a big semifinal tomorrow. The backlash, not just outside. Listen to what happened when Israel's singer took the stage last night. You heard some of the chanting there. You probably know Eurovision. It's this annual singing contest that rounds up contestants, not just from the EU, but from all over the world. This is the thing that made ABBA famous back in the 70s. But this year, a bunch of countries boycotted because Eurovision allowed Israel to participate, marking its lowest number of participants in decades. Here's Claudio Levanga.
Hey, Hallie, Israel has been competing in the Eurovision Song Contest since 1973, but since the start of the war in Gaza, there have been growing calls for Israel to be suspended from the competition. And this year, 5 countries went as far as boycotting the contest altogether. Spain, Iceland, Ireland, the Netherlands and Slovenia claim that Israel should have been kicked out over the war in Gaza and for using the contest as a soft power tool, just as Russia was banned after it invaded Ukraine in 2022. But singers and bands representing another 35 countries are still participating, and the first 15 took to the stage on Tuesday evening for the first semi-final. Now, among them was Noam Betan, representing Israel, who was received by the audience with a bit of a mix of booing and cheering and even chants of "Stop the Genocide." Now, things got very heated. That at some point during the performance, 2 protesters had to be physically removed from the arena by security. After his performance, the Israeli singer told NBC News that he heard the booing at the beginning, but also felt the love and support, he said, by others in the audience, including those waving Israeli flags. In the end, despite the controversy, Israel was among 10 performers that made it to the final on Saturday. Now, in the meantime, in Vienna, security remains very tight as several pro-Palestinian protests have been planned ahead of Saturday's final. And the head of the intelligence in Austria, the intelligence service in Austria, said the terror alert also remains high after just last month a 21-year-old man who pledged allegiance to the Islamic State pleaded guilty to plotting an attack against the Taylor Swift concert in Vienna in August 2024. Well, Hallie, the Eurovision Song Contest's motto is "United by Music," but once again, competing countries are divided by Israel's participation. Hallie?
Claudio Levanga, thank you very much for that. That does it for us for this hour. Thank you, as always, for watching. Quick programming note, by the way, if you can't get enough of the good stuff on NBC News, guess what? A subscription gets you even more. And right now, they're running a big thing, 50% off. You get fewer ads, you get exclusive stuff. If you're an Xfinity member, just head to that website there for you. See you soon. We are coming on the air with that new update from the top prosecutor in South Carolina after that stunning move from the state Supreme Court there, tossing the double murder conviction of Alex Murdaugh. Why now both sides say they're ready for round 2 of what was called the South's trial of the century. We've got more on that in a second. Also new tonight, the late addition to President Trump's trip to China, how a computer chip might be his biggest bargaining chip on trade, with the red carpet set to roll out in the next couple of hours. Then the new tests on board the cruise ship at the center of that deadly hantavirus outbreak. What we're learning tonight about the Americans now in quarantine and what the CDC is encouraging them to do. Plus, why a whistleblower is now accusing the feds of trying to cover up the origins of COVID in a Capitol Hill hearing, and why Republicans are bringing it up now. Plus, the new sentence for Corey Richins, life without parole. Her message to her children and their message to her after she was convicted of killing her husband. Later in the show. Hey there, I'm Hallie, and in just the last hour, you saw it here live. We heard from prosecutors in South Carolina's so-called trial of the century, saying that they are disappointed after the state Supreme Court threw out Alex Murdaugh's double murder conviction. Why did they do it? Well, the court blamed what they called shocking jury interference. Watch.
My office's position has always been that the conduct, while inappropriate and should never be condoned, was ultimately harmless as it related to prejudicing Alex Murdaugh's right to a fair trial.
He's talking there, that's the state AG, about the conduct of one woman, the court clerk, Becky Hill, who was there day after day. She is the one that the state Supreme Court says conducted that shocking jury interference. She's the one who read out the actual guilty verdict 2 years ago. Look at this.
Verdict guilty, signed by the forelady, date 3/2/23.
But the court says that Hill did stuff that made it so that Murdaugh couldn't get a fair trial. She did things, they say, like tell jurors not to be fooled by the evidence Murdaugh's attorneys presented, told them to watch Murdaugh's body language when he testified, told jurors the defense would try to do things to confuse or throw them off. So that means that Murdaugh may be headed for round 2, a retrial, considering the verdict against him has been overturned. Thing is, if you're like, is he going to walk free? He's not. He's definitely not. He's not getting out of prison. Because remember, separately, he pleaded guilty to charges related to stealing tons of money from his law firm and from former clients. Misty Maris is joining us for some legal analysis. Laura Jarrett is following the latest updates. We cannot, I think, say enough what a big deal this trial was while it was happening. It captivated the South. The Murdaughs were a dynasty in this state. The double murder conviction was huge when it happened, meaning the overturning of that conviction is also big news. It is surprising. Walk us through what happens from here.
Yeah, Hallie, it's a stunning development. It's a huge embarrassment for the state that poured so much resources and time and efforts. As you said, it captivated the nation. It was a 6-week trial. Murdaugh himself took the stand. He has always maintained his innocence, but that jury convicted him unanimously. And today, it's all done. Poof, done, as if it never happened. Take a listen to the state AG sort of positioning how they want to go about this now.
When victims are murdered, they have a right to have their case adjudicated in court, even though they're not currently here. Their family members who they left behind have a right, for those who want to see justice meted out.
Now, I separately asked the AG, hey, what if Murdaugh decides he actually wants to plead guilty here? Not saying that he would, but he's pled guilty to extensive financial crimes. He's been convicted once. He may decide, hey, I don't want to go through another jury trial and risk life behind bars in that case. So what if he would do a plea? The state AG wouldn't say he wouldn't entertain it. He said, I'm looking at all my options. This just happened today. We have the right to a retrial here. But he didn't say no definitively. And it's just an interesting note here that, the state has a lot on the line, too. They do not want to lose this if it actually gets retried.
Can you pull on the Becky Hill thread of it all, right, the court clerk? Because almost from the jump after this conviction came down, Murdaugh's attorneys were frustrated. They were like, she behaved badly. You're now hearing prosecutors today, Laura, say like, hey, they don't love her conduct either, but they thought that ultimately, legally, it was harmless. That it sounds like they're making the case, Laura, that ultimately they think the jury would have come to this decision regardless of whether Hill interacted with them in this way or not. Why did the state Supreme Court disagree with that? Because that's at the crux of this.
Yeah, that's a position that the state almost always takes when there's something that happens after the verdict like this and a defendant wants to try to get it overturned, wants to try to get a new trial. Here, the state Supreme Court said what she did was just so bad, so disgraceful in their words, unprecedented actually in their words, that it infected the entire jury process. And so even if some jurors didn't think it was actually so big of a deal and said they were going to convict him anyway, they were deliberating with the jurors that were bothered by it, and so the whole process was so tainted that they had to give him a new trial. We should mention, Murdaugh has pled guilty in the financial crimes, but he has maintained his innocence all along, and in a statement today, his attorneys doubling down on that, saying, Alex has said from day one that he did not kill his wife and son. We look forward to a new trial conducted consistent with the Constitution and the guidance that this court has provided. So they're feeling quite empowered now, especially since the court has now also tied the prosecutors' hands with the fact that they can't bring in as much evidence of financial crimes as they did in last time in the first trial, Hallie.
Laura Jarrett, thank you very much for that, for tracking all of it as you have really from the jump. Thank you, pal. Appreciate that. Let me bring in Misty Maris now. Pick up where Laura left off there. This idea that prosecutors' hands are a bit tied when it comes to this issue of financial crimes. They kind of have to lean out, right? Meaning, if this does go to a retrial, as everybody seems to be previewing by the end of the calendar year, that's when prosecutors want it. It may not just be a rewind it back and roll the tape kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think prosecutors are going to have to really think about how they present the case. And this is after covering gavel to gavel the first trial. The financial motive to commit these murders was central to the prosecution's case. So now the next steps will be for the new trial court, if and when this case goes for the second time around, to make evidentiary determinations about what relating to those financial crimes, what evidence, what witnesses actually comes into the courtroom. And Hallie, that could really shape the way that the prosecution actually presents the case to the second jury, and of course would have an impact on how the defense potentially responds. Will Murdaugh testify again? You know, those types of issues could really be formulated by the way prosecutors actually approach potentially a new legal theory to present.
Yeah. You talk about a second jury. It is hard to imagine that there is anybody in the state of South Carolina who hasn't heard about this case, who hasn't heard about the conviction by Alex Murdaugh of double murder, of killing his wife and son. How do they seat a jury here?
Yeah, I'd be a little freaked out if somebody hadn't heard of it at all, Hallie. You'd be like, what are you, living under a rock? But keep in mind, not just South Carolina, this is a nationwide story. This case has been watched across the country, and there's so many eyes on it, not just the original trial where you had Murdaugh testifying, podcasts, you know, all sorts of other entertainment, documentaries, everything relating to this case. What they're going to have to do is what they do in every high-profile case, extensive jury questionnaires and voir dire that really gets down to the core question. You might have heard of it, but can you go into that courtroom without formulating an opinion and base your determination on the evidence?
Can I ask you, like, there's a few paths this could go. It seems like it's moving towards a retrial of Murdaugh. As Laura mentioned, the AG has not ruled out a potential plea, like that they would, if Murdaugh decides he wants to do that. But also, isn't it possible that the state prosecutors could appeal this up past the state Supreme Court to the federal Supreme Court here in Washington? Is that even on the table?
It's on the table, so they have two options. They can ask the court that made this determination to look at this again and argue that they came to the wrong conclusion. That's unlikely to succeed, especially I watched the hearing that took place in February. Those judges were giving prosecutors a hard time. They were really putting them to the fire. So the other option, because this is the highest state court and there is a final disposition and there is a federal question of whether or not there was a fair trial, it's something they could ask the Supreme Court to review. Supreme Court doesn't have to, but it's certainly something they could do, and they have 90 days to make that petition.
Super interesting. Misty Maris, plenty to watch on that one. Thank you very much. And plenty to watch on NBC tomorrow on Today, an exclusive interview with Alex Murdaugh's legal team. Do not miss that. Less than, 12 hours from now, 13 hours from now, just about. More to come on that front, but let's take you overseas now for other big story of the night. President Trump officially arriving for those key talks, that big meeting with China's president. The whole shebang happens later on tonight, but already we've seen an interesting twist here, a late addition to the trip. The head of NVIDIA, who rendezvoused with the president in Alaska after POTUS called him up for the trip, according to a source familiar. He's joining now a bunch of other CEOs, the heads of Apple, Meta, a bunch of banks, Elon Musk. The president says he wants to talk trade with Xi, but he may be a bit back on his heels after some big wins for Beijing recently, right? Look at the Supreme Court. They slashed his signature tariffs that jacked up prices on Chinese imports. Xi Jinping, the Chinese leader, is playing hardball on those so-called rare earth minerals the president wants. China is shielding its companies from U.S. sanctions, given the business some do with Iran. Speaking of Iran, the war and the Strait of Hormuz, we know that's probably going to come up, even though the president says it's not exactly top of mind. It may be for China. Beijing gets a ton of oil from Iran. The president says Xi wants him to hash it all out. A deal that, per the president just 24 hours ago, is going to be hashed out with Iran as it relates to peace talks without him thinking about Americans' financial situations. This is what the president said. He said his focus instead is on just one thing when it comes to Iran.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. 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 It's very simple.
We're going to talk about your money with Ali Canal in just a second, but I want to start with Gabe Gutierrez, who is live for us there in Beijing. Good morning to you, my friend. All of the action is happening overnight our time, daytime your time, and this is really a big day for President Trump. So set the table for what we should expect so that when we wake up tomorrow morning, we know how to read in.
Well, Hallie, you mentioned that the president arriving here in Beijing overnight got that red carpet welcome, the type of pomp and pageantry that he relishes just so much. And we're expecting a huge day of that on the grandest of global stages, Hallie. You know, the president expected to go to the Great Hall of the People here in China a little later on this morning for an official welcome ceremony from President Xi. They'll then have a bilateral meeting before later on today. He will meet with President Xi and also tour the Temple of Heaven, a historic site here in Beijing, before a state banquet a little later on tonight. So a lot going on overnight your time. We'll be here watching it all. But as you said, a lot looming over these talks. There's Iran, there's trade, tariffs, AI, to the thorny issue of Taiwan. All these topics are expected to come up here. It just big question is just how much President Trump will push President Xi behind the scenes to get involved in Iran. He says he's downplaying how much he will do it, but we'll just have to wait and see how.
But the NVIDIA thing is also interesting, too, Gabe, because does it give you a signal or perhaps a sense that the president's bargaining chip with the Chinese may be like a literal computer chip here?
Well, look, that is incredibly interesting. You're right, because that was that last-minute ad, the NVIDIA CEO, of course, making these advanced computer chips. There have been restrictions on these types of chips to be exported from the U.S. into China. It could be, and look, Trump administration officials have been saying that one of their main goals here in China is to talk about perhaps some investment deals, to talk about a potential board of investment or board of trade with the Chinese. And that's how they pivot back to what they're trying to do to help everyday Americans with affordability. If they can bring some of these investment deals to the United States, that could be something, that the administration could walk out of here touting some sort of win, projecting this image of stability, which the president likely needs, given that there's so much going on really around the world, so much instability in the Middle East.
Let me go back to what the president said, Gabe, about the Americans' financial situations and Iran, right? We talked about it right at the top here, because back here in Washington, our friend and colleague Monica Alba asked the vice president about that. Let me play that.
When approaching the war with Iran, do you agree with the president's position that Americans' financial situations should not be a consideration in that decision-making process?
Well, I don't think the president said that. I think that's a misrepresentation of what the president said. But look, I agree with the president that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. We're obviously engaged in a very aggressive and very engaged diplomatic process to try to ensure that that doesn't happen. And the president has a lot of options, as he said repeatedly.
Really quick, just to make the point on no misrepresentation, let me remind people exactly what the president did say, because it was not misrepresented. Let me play that.
Yeah.
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all.
Now, the president in China may be thinking about Americans' financial situations, but what can he do? In other words, what can he bring home from these talks with Xi, given the pressure he faces politically to try to help people out from a budgetary perspective?
Well, certainly, Hallie, there's a lot of pressure there. And the vice president continuing that answer, continuing to play some cleanup here to try to, have it both ways, in a sense, taking issue with the question, but also saying that, of course, the administration is concerned about Americans' financial situation, and then pivoting back to that's why it passed what they view as those historic tax cuts. And basically looking at this situation, they're clearly worried about it heading into the midterm election campaign, and certainly something that Republicans will be needing to answer for. Now, when it comes to these CEOs that are coming here, yes, this is something the administration wants to be a headline from this trip, some sort of investment deal that they can then pivot to then talk about how they're working to make things more affordable.
Gabe Gutierrez live for us there in Beijing. Gabe, you're going to have a busy day, a busy night. Appreciate you being with us. Thank you, pal. Alec and Al already having a busy night. Let me pick up where Gabe left off there and his reference to the VP, kind of trying to maybe do some cleanup on the president's comments regarding the Americans' financial situation and how it relates to his thinking on the war against Iran, which has obviously spiked prices for things like gas, et cetera. Here's some, we heard from some rank and file Republicans today. Senator Mike Rounds, Republican, responding to questions on inflation. Listen to this.
We can't walk away from the fact that gas prices are high. We have to acknowledge it.
Are you concerned your party will receive backlash?
Well, I think we always are concerned. Anytime you have an inflationary rate, you always have to be concerned about it. But can we do something about it? You bet we can.
We have some new numbers today, Allie, showing how inflation is hitting not just people who live in their homes, like, you know, people's personal lives, but businesses and business owners, too.
Yeah, and in reaction to that report, Hallie, some Wall Street analysts called it Tabasco hot. And if you look at some of the numbers, like you were saying, these are businesses, wholesale inflation. It's called the Producer Price Index, otherwise known as PPI. You're seeing on your screen there, up 6% in April. Quite the sizable jump from March. And the reason why Wall Street watches this so closely is because these higher costs, they're often passed on to consumers. So today's PPI could become tomorrow's CPI. And we've already seen those price pressures across the board, particularly when we talk about energy prices, transportation costs, food prices. And that's in part due to the supply disruptions that we're seeing in the Strait of Hormuz. So now with businesses dealing with these higher costs, consumers as well, it's a tricky thing for the administration to balance moving forward.
There's also this interesting dynamic. Jensen Huang had an video over there. You know, we talked with Gabe about this, how those chips could end up as kind of a bargaining chip in China. But who benefits from that other than NVIDIA? Like, doesn't this, if they go over there, they're trying to sell a bunch of chips to China, like, doesn't that put those companies ahead of U.S. companies who are trying to beat them in this AI race? Like, what's the logic here?
Yeah, it's sort of this double-edged sword situation because there has been this bipartisan push in Washington to prevent China from accessing the most advanced AI technologies and chips. That makes sense. However, you don't want to fully exclude U.S. companies from China because it's a big market. There's a lot of growth. And in the interim, China has actually started to produce its own chips, its own AI systems. And back in February, NVIDIA actually warned investors that those Chinese competitors, they're making progress. And over the long term, that could disrupt the entire AI industry. So the fear is that if you cut off China too aggressively, that's going to speed up China's need to be dependent from or independent from American technology altogether. So that's why it's super interesting that we're seeing NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang join this trip at the request of the president, pretty last minute too. So we'll see if NVIDIA is a linchpin in any of these talks or negotiations, Hallie.
Hallie Canal, much to watch. Thank you. Back here in Washington, got to get to some developing news breaking in just the last little bit here. Our first look now at a top cabinet official answering questions about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. We're talking about the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick. To be clear, he's not accused of any criminal wrongdoing. But Democrats have wondered about this timeline of when he says he cut off ties with Epstein. I want to bring in Melanie Zanona, who's joining us now. He already sat down to answer these questions behind closed doors. We are, in just the last maybe 90 minutes, getting the actual transcript, right, of what specifically he said as he's detailing the encounters, the few encounters. He was his neighbor that he said he had with Epstein. Walk us through it.
That's right. He did say he had no personal relationship, no professional relationship with Epstein. He also said he had no knowledge of Epstein's crimes, but he did have a handful of interactions with Epstein starting in 2005. That's when, according to Lutnick, he was invited over along with his wife for coffee to Epstein's New York townhouse. And during that visit, that's when Lutnick said he spotted a massage table in the home. So he asked Epstein, how often do you have a massage? And according to Lutnick, according to this transcript, his response was every day and the right kind of massage, which both Lutnick and his wife interpreted to be sexual in nature. And they said they were so sort of disgusted by this interaction that they decided to cut ties with him going forward. But despite that, they had another interaction. Flash forward to 2012. That's when they were invited by Epstein's staff to come to Epstein's Island for lunch. I want to read you what Lutnick told the committee about that interaction. He said, I went for lunch with my wife and my 4 children, my friends, a couple and their 4 children, and staff and boat staff. So it was probably 15, 16 people that went for lunch. We sat outside, had lunch. It was boring, and we left. But Democrats, during this transcript, during this deposition, pressed him on why would you still go to the island with your wife and kids if you were so turned off by that 2005 interaction. And his response, Hallie, was, I don't remember and I don't know. So clearly some inconsistencies there, at least in the view of Democrats.
Melanie Zanona. Mel, thank you very much. And our team's been reading that and for pulling the headlines. Appreciate that. So an interesting new threading of the needle, if you will, from the CDC late today, saying they're encouraging the Americans who are on board that so-called hantavirus cruise to stay quarantined at a Nebraska medical center for 6 full weeks before going home. They are encouraging that. They are not mandating that. With a lot of questions over when these passengers can head to their houses, what they should do once they go home, etc. We know it can take up to 42 days for symptoms of the hantavirus to show up, which is why the medical director of Nebraska's quarantine unit says these passengers are being monitored constantly.
I can't give you an absolute number, and I think that's what everyone would like to know, especially the guests that we have in the unit. CDC assessments are going to dictate how we proceed from here, and it may be different for different individuals.
I want to bring in Camila Bernal, who's live for us on the ground in Omaha. And in addition to that, Camila, we're also hearing now from Kansas health officials who say they're monitoring 3 people who may have been exposed. What's the connection? Help us understand that.
Yeah, so Kansas is saying that there are 3 people with high risk exposure. And what that means, according to their health department, is that these 3 people were in close contact with someone who tested positive for the Andes strain of the virus. So those 3 people are now being observed, was their wording, at the University of Kansas Hospital. So it's unclear exactly if they have any symptoms, but we know they are being monitored by medical professionals the same way, or maybe similar to what you're seeing here in the space here behind me, where there are medical professionals continuing to check on the people that were on this ship. Obviously, you mentioned that officials want them to stay here for the 42 days, which they say begin on May 11th, which is the day they got off the ship. But it's clearly not easy for a lot of them. I spoke to one nurse who has been essentially around them and taking care of them and doing their intake, and here's what she told me.
I think they're all reacting in a way that we would anticipate any of us would, is, not having all the information is really challenging.
And so the nurse was essentially saying that it is a case-by-case scenario. I did get information that as of yesterday, everybody in Kansas was asymptomatic. As of today, everyone here is asymptomatic. Okay. So we're obviously hoping to get more information from medical professionals. Hallie?
What about the cruise ship itself? It's going to reach the Netherlands, I think, on Monday, right, with some of those crew members on board. What happens once it docks?
Yeah, so there are crew members and a couple of medical professionals on the boat. It's supposed to get to the Netherlands on Monday, and then the boat is going to be sanitized. Remember, all the luggage from all of these passengers in the U.S. and all over the world are still on that boat. Everything has to get sanitized before it gets returned to the people, obviously, where it belongs. So a lot still happening in the Netherlands as this tries to come to a close, essentially, in terms of the ship itself, Hallie.
Camila Bernal live for us there in Omaha. Camila, thank you for your reporting and for bringing us the latest updates on all of this since the very beginning. Appreciate that. There is another cruise ship in Europe right now dealing with an outbreak, not hantavirus, but norovirus. Here's what we know so far. Passengers who don't have any symptoms are now allowed to get off the ship. It's docked in France after local officials there first stopped everybody from disembarking because there's dozens of cases of noro on board. Fortunately, none of them are serious. But 48 passengers have been confirmed affected. They have to isolate in their cabins for a bit. The CDC generally recommends isolating for a couple of days until you start to feel better. Health officials say there is no reason to link this outbreak on this ship to the cases of hantavirus on that other cruise ship that we just talked about with Camila. Here in Washington now, some questions tonight over the testimony from a CIA officer who's accusing the government of covering up the origins of the COVID pandemic. James Erdman on Capitol Hill earlier, telling Republicans intel officials back in the Biden era downplayed the possibility that the virus was the result of a leak from a Chinese lab. The hearing's all part of Republican Senator Rand Paul's years-long pushback against Dr. Anthony Fauci and his role into looking into the COVID origins. God, there's very little love lost between those two, by the way. Dan DeLuce is following this story for us. There's a political overlay here. There's more to it. Walk us through it.
Well, exactly. And this is not an old debate, not a new debate,
No.
right?
Been around a long time. And the problem is China has never provided all of the data, all the medical information, hospital information to try to get to the bottom of this. So as a result, it's this never-ending kind of question. And there are people who argue why they believe it was naturally occurring from animals spreading to humans. And then there's this lab leak scenario, and it's kind of really hard to resolve it. So today, the CIA employee testified in front of the Senate hearing saying he believes this scenario was downplayed. Now, the intelligence agencies never reached a consensus, okay? So here's what he had to say at the hearing.
Intelligence community leaders and senior analysts downplayed the possibility that the COVID pandemic originated as a result of a lab incident. Motives are difficult to define given the scope of the DIG's review. Intentional or not, the IC's actions resulted in a cover-up, wasted resources, and a failure to properly inform policymakers.
So that's what he had to say.
But those are some pretty serious allegations, a cover-up at the highest levels of the federal government. But
unproven, right? And also what's interesting is the Democrats on the committee did not show up. And
was that a protest, or do we know?
They don't believe he's credible, some of them. And also they're saying that there was no information shared by the chairman, Senator Paul. So usually what would happen in this case, you would go to the CIA and you would say, we really want to speak to this person. Can we do this? How do we manage, classified information so nothing is, revealed? He didn't do that. He issued a subpoena. So the CIA is now angry about this too. So it was a very interesting situation because actually the Trump administration agrees generally that it was probably a lab leak. So what he's saying is not necessarily controversial for the White House or for the CIA. And just after Trump took office, the CIA came out and said, we now believe it was probably a lab leak. So this mystery continues. The debate continues. Here's what the CIA had to say. They called it political theater, really just rejected the whole episode.
Super interesting. Dan DeLuz, thank you for breaking apart this one for us. I appreciate it. Thank you. Coming up, much more to get to here on the show, including the race to rescue people trapped in intense flash flooding in one country. Plus, the driver who could become the first woman to complete a rare racing doubleheader. That's next. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, the man accused of providing the ketamine that killed Matthew Perry has now been sentenced to 2 years behind bars today. Eric Fleming was a licensed addiction counselor previously. He is now pleading guilty in connection with the actor's 2023 death. He's the 4th person to be sentenced in the Perry case. Last month, the convicted drug dealer who prosecutors called the ketamine queen was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Number 2, at least 12 people have been hurt after really bad flooding in northern Turkey. Look at this. A lot of rain led to rivers overflowing. The rushing water picked up and moved cars, too. Look at that. Fortunately, all of the victims are expected to be okay. Number 3, Princess Kate is making her first solo trip abroad since announcing her cancer was in remission just about a year ago. She's in northern Italy for this 2-day trip where she's focusing on early childhood education. Number 4, we're just learning that the former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani is set to come back to his podcast and his streaming shows tonight for the first time since he was diagnosed with pneumonia about a week ago. The 81-year-old, remember, was briefly hospitalized in critical condition. Number 5, a British race car driver is set to become the first woman to try to drive both the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 in the same day. That's like 600 laps. That's known in the racing world as the double. Catherine Legg, who's 45, could also become the oldest person to ever do it. Only one person has ever succeeded in the double. Legg's going to make her push over Memorial Day weekend later on this month. We shall be watching. Also tonight, in just the last couple of hours, the Utah mom who published a book on grief after her husband's death has been sentenced to life in prison without parole for his murder. She just spoke in court, sending a message to her 3 sons.
I know how much you need him, how much you love him. How much you aspire to be just like him. And I would have never taken that from you.
That's Corey Richins there in court receiving her sentence today. It happens to be the birthday of her late husband, Eric. She was convicted of aggravated murder earlier this year for lacing his cocktail with 5 times the deadly dose of fentanyl That was back in 2022. Her lawyers say they're going to appeal the ruling. Morgan Chesky is covering this one for us. And another high-profile case here. A very emotional day in court today, right?
Yeah, Hallie, absolutely. This took the better part of today. We heard from powerful victim statements from both sides of Corey Richins' family. And she sat there and listened to everything, not hiding her feelings at times, rolling her eyes to some accounts, breaking down in tears for others. But this was the moment, essentially, where everyone was waiting to see what the judge would decide. They had two options here: life in prison without parole or life with the possibility of that. And the judge saying that while considering both of these options in detail, one of the key focal points were the three sons of Richins that are still alive, saying that it was out of genuine concern for them that he made sure that because of the severity, the heinous nature of this crime, her poisoning her husband, that he believed that she should be incarcerated for the remainder of her life. And one of the most powerful moments today came when therapists for her children read their victim statements. Take a listen.
You have never said sorry for anything that you have done to me and my brothers. I don't want you to hurt anyone again.
I miss my dad, but I do not miss how my life used to be. I don't miss Corey, I will tell you that.
I want her to go to prison forever. If she got out, I would be so scared.
Now, again, Eric Richins died back in March of 2022, and she was convicted of his murder, of murdering him just this past March. Hallie, we had a chance to see some body cam during that trial, and you could see officers asking her what was wrong. She said she didn't know, but when she rolled over in bed, her husband's body felt cold. Of course, she was arrested a year later because of evidence that had accumulated by investigators. And you can hear from Corey in her own words here, speaking to her sons, at one point saying to be like their father. Take a listen.
Be like your dad. Be generous. Be charitable. Help when others are in need. Serve your community. Be like your dad.
Again, a very emotional day in court here, Hallie. I should note that her attorney said that she has mailed letters to her sons from prison, but they've all come back unopened. Hallie.
Wow. It's as you say, incredibly emotional. And I have to ask on the legal piece of it, we had mentioned her team does plan to appeal, right? Do you have any sense of a timeline on that?
They do. Let's hear directly, in fact, from one of her own family members, Corey's brother, sharing a statement following this news from the judge, saying that Corey's innocent. We stand with her fully. We are glad to get Corey out of this unjust, corrupt, and harmful Summit County court system. We are excited to get the appeal process going in a fair and impartial manner. Hallie, no date set for that. But until then, again, the official word today, life without the possibility of parole. Hallie.
Morgan Chesky live for us with all of those developments. Morgan, thank you. Coming up, the new details on the shots fired inside the Philippine Senate, what we know about why it happened in a government building. Plus, the moment firefighters rescued a kitten trapped in a storm drain in Florida. We've got that video in just a sec. We are learning more about a chaotic scene at the Senate in the Philippines. Gunfire, with officials trying to arrest a politician wanted by the International Criminal Court. Take a look at this. Really scary moments. You can hear the shots fired. It's not immediately clear who was pulling the trigger. The Philippine president said nobody was hurt, no government officials were involved. He's now calling for calm. I want to get to Raf Sanchez now. How did this happen? It's not like this is a building that doesn't have security.
So, Hallie, this is basically the culmination of a pretty bizarre three-day standoff that took place inside the Philippine Senate. You mentioned on Monday, the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for a Philippine senator. His name is Ronald De La Rosa. He is accused of crimes against humanity committed back when he was a police officer. He denies those allegations. But on Monday, Philippine law enforcement came and they tried to take him into custody. And, Hallie, He literally made a run for it. You can see in CCTV, he and his aides just take off inside the Senate building. They run up a bunch of stairs, and he locked himself inside his office. He spent 2 days locked inside. That brings us to today. Here's where things get a little bit confusing. You can see from footage shot inside of the Senate, it certainly looks like very large numbers of armed Philippine law enforcement and troops go inside the building in an apparent attempt to take him into custody. You can see troops in the hallway there. There's then this burst of shooting. We still don't know who actually opened fire. As you said, authorities are saying nobody was actually hurt. But when the president of the Philippines went on TV later on to address his nation, he said this was nothing to do with the government. We didn't send any of our guys in there. We're not trying to arrest De La Rosa. So it is a pretty confusing situation. Our understanding right now is he is with this wanted senator is with Philippine security forces, but he is not in custody. He has appealed to the country's Supreme Court to block any extradition. And you might remember, Hallie, the former president of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, who was something of a pal of President Trump during his first term, he is currently at The Hague at the International Criminal Court, also awaiting trial. Hallie.
Raf Sanchez, what a story. Thank you very much for keeping us posted on that one. NBC News covers hundreds of other stories every day, and because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Western Bureau, at least 13 people have been hurt after this pretty intense crash in California. A truck crashing into a city bus and 2 cars. Police say the truck, which was filled with gravel, couldn't stop at a traffic light before the crash. 8 people on board the bus have been hospitalized. Out of our Northeast Bureau, a huge fire gutting this 100-plus-year-old house in the Philly suburbs. Started in the attic and then spread. The homeowners woke up in time after hearing crackling noises and called 911. Some 100 firefighters were out there trying to get the flames under control. Nobody was hurt. And out of our Southern Bureau, Florida Fire Rescue Team says a trapped kitten was able to be saved thanks to some quick thinking. Somebody heard cries coming from a storm drain and called for help. Crews tried to get the kitten out. It moved deeper into the pipe. They had to pause the search till the next day. The little kitten didn't really want the food that they tried to use to lure it out, so they used a very gentle stream of water to try to get the little critter out. He's now safe and living with the person who first found him. All is well that ends well. To tonight's original now with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. And tonight it's the president's trip to China. We've been talking about it. Another big issue there for him, China's control of key resources like tungsten. This is an important component in weapons and certain ammunition, et cetera. The trade war with China, making this rare element all the more rare. And the war against Iran is forcing the U.S. to try to find more of it. So one American company is mining it in South Korea. Our Janice Mackey-Freyer is there.
One of these blasts is the United States at war. The other is to rebuild the country's weapons stockpile. But what brought us to the eastern mountains of South Korea isn't just about weapons. It's the global battle for the Earth's key resources. Every missile and munition the U.S. military has fired in the war against Iran has burned through stockpiles of advanced weapons and ammunition, including Tomahawk, Patriot, and precision strike missiles. The risk that the U.S. may not have enough if there was ever a war with China.
We have great faith in American industry. We've seen in the past when American industry can spin up, but these things do take time.
There's also a dwindling supply of the critical mineral that's vital to building them, tungsten. It's used in fighter jets, bunker buster bombs, armor-piercing rounds, and AI-guided missile systems. Tough enough to penetrate, extremely heat-resistant. Tungsten is indispensable for defense. The U.S. government is actively searching for more, which is what brings us back to South Korea. They're finding it here, at a mine holding millions of tons of tungsten ore owned by an American company.
There are very few large-scale tungsten mines on the planet.
Louis Black is the CEO of Almonte Industries, who bought and reopened the Sandong mine here just months ago, 30 years after it was shut down.
In this hole, you'll see a lot of tungsten.
Over a mile underground, Black took us deep into the mine's maze of tunnels.
You can't feel it, can you? It just feels like rock.
to see up close the critical mineral that is as dense as gold, but as delicate as porcelain and crucial for U.S. national security.
We're not in crisis, we're just in need.
This is a hard mineral to get out of the ground. To show you, this is a UV light. I'm going to turn off my lamp. You can see all of these flecks that are glowing, that's tungsten.
But it isn't just the defense industry. There's a bit of tungsten in everything, from semiconductors to smartphones, light bulbs to auto parts. And right now, there's no substitute.
Demand is growing because ultimately they keep finding new uses.
For decades, China has dominated global supply, producing over 80% of the world's tungsten and using more than half of it.
It's a very intense, dangerous, and environmentally hazardous process to refine this tungsten. People in America don't want to do that. The Chinese are very willing to do that, and at a low cost.
Last year, after Trump became U.S. president, China slapped export controls on several rare earths and critical minerals, skyrocketing tungsten prices. The trade war only making matters worse. And removing those restrictions is one of the most pressing issues for the U.S. as Trump meets China's leader, Xi Jinping.
Everyone has the same problem. Question is, how do you deal with it without looking weak?
Here in caverns carved into the mountains, engineers are blasting every day and finding new deposits like this. Each year, the U.S. imports over 6,000 metric tons of processed tungsten. At full capacity, Almonte says it could process enough tungsten to meet all of the U.S.'s import demand. And they're hoping to get another mine up and running in Montana to establish a mine in the USA domestic supply for the future.
Having a resilient supply chain for tungsten is going to be extremely important over the next decade, 2 decades.
The Department of Defense has billions to spend on weapons, but rebuilding U.S. munitions stocks will take time and tungsten, and both are in short supply. Janice Mackey-Freyer, NBC News in Yongwol County, South Korea.
Coming up, the new lifeline may be on the way for the British Prime Minister. Why the head of one of the world's biggest banks is throwing his support behind the embattled Keir Starmer. Next. So tonight, political drama looming large over the King's big speech in London. King Charles here, you see him laying out the British government's priorities for the upcoming session of Parliament. Here he is arriving, natch in a horse-drawn carriage, as one does when you're the king, wearing a very king-like crown as well, addressing the opening of Parliament there, along with the Queen. Big order of business, though, while he was center stage, is still the future of Prime Minister Keir Starmer, with some 80 of his fellow Labour Party lawmakers calling for him to step down. That's after last week's elections delivered big wins for the hard-right Reform UK party. But here's the thing. America's biggest bank may have just handed Starmer a political lifeline. JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon tells Bloomberg he might pull the plug on a multi-billion-dollar office tower in London if Starmer gets ousted. Matt Bodner joins us now. Is that threat enough to potentially save Keir Starmer's political future?
Well, it's definitely an interesting one, Hallie. Basically, I think it falls right into some of the counter arguments we've seen in the past few days in support of Keir Starmer, essentially saying that if there is a major leadership crisis right now, given the state of the country's economy, its sort of security situation, that it could also spark a financial crisis. So it is interesting to see sort of a big foreign business weigh in on this. I think it's also worth pointing out that it could also just be aimed at tipping the debate within the Labour Party about who might follow Starmer. Starmer is sort of from the moderate wing. He's basically tends to be pro-European in terms of economic and security cooperation. There are more left-leaning members of the Labour Party who could end up making a play for the leadership. So it could also be designed at sort of swaying that debate. His words were basically, if a leadership crisis results in a government that is sort of harder on the banks, it could force them to reconsider their investments.
How about the timing of the King's speech today? I mean, it's interesting, right? Give us a sense of how the interplay between the royals and the politicos there.
So I think, as you guys might have seen, as you're seeing now, this is a very ceremonial, symbolic event. So ceremonial, actually, it includes the king's bodyguards trawling through the tunnels below Parliament looking for explosives. But also, I want to point out the content of the speech is essentially dictated by the government, by the Prime Minister's office. It outlines the government's agenda for the next year. And the Prime Minister's office sets the date. That date was set a while ago. Everyone knew going into this that it was basically picked to follow last week's local elections. Everyone knew that those elections were going to be a bloodbath for Labour. So the original intent by Number 10 was likely to use this speech to try to reset the conversation for the Labour government after that election. But in practice today, it sort of gave Starmer some much-needed cover. That's essentially what we saw happen today. We saw one of his sort of presumed rivals go for a meeting at Downing Street earlier today. Before the speech, that lasted 15 minutes. He walked out, and really nothing further happened today. So it did provide cover. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, no kidding. Matt Bodner, thank you very much. Coming up here on the show, when multiple countries are now boycotting the biggest singing competition in the world. That's next. Tonight, the biggest singing competition in the world is ramping up to a controversial finale with anti-Israel protests happening outside the Eurovision venue in Vienna, right ahead of a big semifinal tomorrow. The backlash, not just outside. Listen to what happened when Israel's singer took the stage last night. You heard some of the chanting there. You probably know Eurovision. It's this annual singing contest that rounds up contestants, not just from the EU, but from all over the world. This is the thing that made ABBA famous back in the 70s. But this year, a bunch of countries boycotted because Eurovision allowed Israel to participate, marking its lowest number of participants in decades. Here's Claudia Lavanga.
Hey, Hallie. Israel has been competing in the Eurovision Song Contest since 1973, but since the start of the war in Gaza, there have been growing calls for Israel to be suspended from the competition. And this year, 5 countries went as far as boycotting the contest altogether. Spain, Iceland, Ireland, the Netherlands and Slovenia claim that Israel should have been kicked out over the war in Gaza and for using the contest as a soft power tool, just as Russia was banned after it invaded Ukraine in 2022. But singers and bands representing another 35 countries are still participating, and the first 15 took to the stage on Tuesday evening for the first semi-final. Now, among them was Noam Betan, representing Israel, who was received by the audience with a bit of a mix of booing and cheering and even chants of "Stop the Genocide." Now, things got very heated. That at some point during the performance, 2 protesters had to be physically removed from the arena by security. After his performance, the Israeli singer told NBC News that he heard the booing at the beginning, but also felt the love and support, he said, by others in the audience, including those waving Israeli flags. In the end, despite the controversy, Israel was among 10 performers that made it to the final on Saturday. Now, in the meantime, in Vienna, security remains very tight as several pro-Palestinian protests have been planned ahead of Saturday's final. And the head of the intelligence in Austria, the intelligence service in Austria, said the terror alert also remains high after just last month a 21-year-old man who pledged allegiance to the Islamic State pleaded guilty to plotting an attack against the Taylor Swift concert in Vienna in August 2024. Well, Hallie, the Eurovision Song Contest's motto is "United by Music," but once again, competing countries are divided by Israel's participation. Hallie?
Claudia Lavanga, thank you very much for that. That does it for us for this hour. Thank you, as always, for watching. Quick programming note, by the way, if you can't get enough of the good stuff on NBC News, guess what? A subscription gets you even more. And right now, they're running a big thing, 50% off. You get fewer ads, you get exclusive stuff. If you're an Xfinity member, just head to that website there for you. See you soon.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.